Total War Pharaoh is just a few months away from release, and will in October bring with it an allegedly massive map of Egypt and the Near East. But still, these 5 coming months can seem long, and especially if you're itching for strategy games set in the Bronze Age. That's why in this video, I'll be showing you the best Bronze Age games available to play right now, to hopefully make that wait seem just a bit shorter. The Bronze Age is a relatively rare time period, but all the more reason to find out which ones are worth playing. And as always, if you enjoy my content and are not yet subscribed, it would mean a lot if you took a second to click that sub button, especially if you want to know more about Total War Pharaoh. Our first game up is none other than another title from the Total War series itself, namely a Total War Saga Troy. Troy has received a lot of backlash from being a not strictly historical and not strictly fantasy title, going for an in-between mix. And while that was certainly true at launch, Troy is better than ever, and has actually been amazing for quite a while now. Troy unsurprisingly depicts the Trojan Wars, with a map centered on Greece, the Aegean, and the Ionian coast back in the 1200s BC. All your favorite heroes from those famous Odyssean epics are here, and it's up to you to choose which side you wish to fight on. The reason why I love Troy in particular is because of how dedicated the developers have been when it comes to creating a universe and a setting that feels so immersive. From the UI to the campaign map itself, a Total War Saga Troy is just utterly beautiful, showcasing this entire theater in one of the best Total War maps ever made. Each faction comes with their very own and unique mechanics, heroes, and goals, making them feel that much more special and adding replayability. Troy also brings the series perhaps most interesting economy system yet, with money not really being a thing, but replacing it instead with various resources we can acquire, spend, and trade away, making the resource trade actually important. What's interesting to note is that the creators of Total War Troy are the same as the ones currently developing Total War Pharaoh. While I hope they made Pharaoh even deeper than Troy, this truly bodes well in my opinion, as an added fun little Easter egg is that we can play as the Ethiopian hero Memnon in Troy, who can bring units from various parts of Bronze Age Egypt, as a little taster treat. The second game on our list is Ozymandias, a unique Bronze Age game if I ever saw one. Ozymandias is one of those amazing strategy games that actually tries something new, and for this game, it's all about changing up how strategy games actually work. Ozymandias takes place in the Bronze Age, not just in Egypt and the Near East, but basically all over the world. It's an incredibly unique game just in this sense alone, but what's more is how Ozymandias plays. This is a game that strips away the complexities of much larger games and brings it all back down to the basics. Ozymandias has you play around with resources and land and soldiers, but it does so in new and unique ways. Ozymandias is turn-based, and each turn, you use various resources to purchase new land tiles, providing you with empire expansion and new potential resources. Much like games like Civilization, it's all about expanding and being able to fight off foreign empires, but Ozymandias lets you do all this in a matter of an hour. In other words, Ozymandias is minimalistic, fun, fresh, and snappy, and really makes you want to improve your strategy with every new game. Each faction has their own unique strengths and weaknesses of course, and since it's so diverse in terms of locations and factions, it's all the better for it. Our next Bronze Age themed game is Field of Glory 2, and its latest expansion in particular, Swifter Than Eagles. This is a very different game, one that focuses all its efforts on the turn-based battles, and this time, they actually simulate these ancient era battles. Field of Glory 2 depicts a truly wide variety of factions, units, and battles, but in this DLC, it focuses on the Bronze Age, actually focusing on 4 new campaigns, with one of them having controlled Ramses II of New Kingdom Egypt. It might not look like much, but the fun is in the details here. Field of Glory 2 is all about tactics, and every unit is tailor-made for their unique position on the battlefield. If you are familiar with the likes of Total War, the basic concept of warfare will help you, but there's so much more going on here. Elevation differences, distance between archers and their targets, varying terrain affecting unit speed and attack, flanking enemies from various sides. All of this works to make Field of Glory 2 both unique and fun. And even though it might seem overwhelming at first, this is one of those games that becomes so much more fun the more you play. And that's the true test of a great game in my opinion. The game features literally hundreds of other factions and units as well, spanning empires from the early Bronze Age to late antiquity, but if you really want that taste of bronze, this Swifter Than Eagles DLC is definitely where it's at. For the next title, we're taking a look at Pharaoh A New Era. This is a remake of the title that came out over 20 years ago, and despite being quite complicated, it still plays surprisingly well. Pharaoh A New Era is a classic city builder, having created those Bronze Age Egyptian cities from their early inception to the later eras. Here you'll have to contend with your population's health, wealth, and happiness, and try to make the most efficient city layouts possible. And the sheer fact that we're building great ancient Egyptian cities here. And if this piques your interest, well, the Steam store is not far away. And now for a special one, a game that is more of a mod than an actual unique game. The Bronze Age Reborn mod for Imperator Rome. This is a truly incredible piece of modding work that completely reimagines Imperator Rome. Bronze Age Reborn not only totally overhauls the grand campaign, but it also changes up the map, giving us an entirely new theater of play. The Near East and the Fertile Crescent is just beautifully created, letting us take charge of early Greek civilizations to the larger powers in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Basically everything is new and overhauled here, from factions to cultures and religions, reworked buildings, over 7,000 new provinces, new cultural advances and technology, new units and military traditions, new events, mission trees, and just so much more. If Imperator Rome wasn't unique enough, this takes it to a whole nother and detailed level, giving you Imperator Rome's impressive trading and resource mechanics in a Bronze Age setting. A game I've personally not played but a title I've heard good things about is the Fertile Crescent, a real-time strategy-based building game set in the Near East. The Fertile Crescent is your classic RTS, but its big appeal is that it has you focus on expansion and resource management only, while villages are created automatically so you can focus on your cities and armies. It's a cute little game in a stylistic package, so this just might be worth your time. And finally, Age of Mythology, while being very mythological, also offers Egypt as a faction. Age of Mythology is a version of the Age of Empires games, but in a more magical package. I don't think I need to say a lot about this one then, as this city and army builder is rather legendary. But what I will say is that Age of Mythology is getting a full remake, and is hopefully being given the same treatment as the other Definitive Edition games in the series. I'm actually quite psyched for this game, and if the other Definitive Edition versions are anything to go by, this upcoming version is going to be great as well. And if none of these appeal, you can always play the highly anachronistic Bronze Age themed Egypt for Rome Remastered. And those were my tips for Bronze Age themed games to whet your beak before Total War Pharaoh releases later this year. It's not necessarily a whole lot of games, but I think each and every one of them are great in their own way. And who knows, maybe you'll think so too. Let me know which one of these games you've already played, which ones you love and maybe even hate. Tell me if you're hyped for Total War Pharaoh, or have thoughts about what the game will be like. As always, make sure to leave a like and sub to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.